Peace, family. I'm back with another one. I want to say that I appreciate the love I done got on those all black towns before the Great Depression. It's over 1.8K views. I also want to say that I appreciate the love and support that I've been getting, the comments, the reactions, everything. I really appreciate y'all for the love. I really want to say I thank y'all for that. If you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you're new, this one here, we're going to go over just a few of the so-called Black inventors and their inventions. I want to show y'all how great our people were, our people are, and also how this country would not be if it was not for us. So stay tuned. Oh yeah, hit that subscribe button. It's right there. Hit that button. Also follow me on my other platforms. Peace and love.
On behalf of Akuno Sankofa Bay, you know what I'm saying? Jay, where you at? We're trying to help our people elevate. Hope. H-O-P-E. We're giving them hope. We doing what we gotta do, you know? Every day, one step at a time, man. We're gonna make it happen. Helping our people elevate. Yeah. Sometimes I practice focus, thought, and meditate. I'm trying to come with other ways to help our people elevate and seeking knowledge, make me levitate. The lifted mental state is what results from how we orchestrate. This for the family's sake. Let's self-reflect and self-evaluate. And every day, make sure the steps you take, you calculate. Receive a master's fate. I know I can't exist without the hate, but that's okay. I balance that with higher self today. Success is on this way, and after that, my flesh can pass away.
So as I said, I want to go into a few of our inventors and their inventions, and I want to start with this brother, Garrett Morgan. And it says that Garrett Morgan blazed the trail for African-American inventors for his patents, including those for a hair straightening product, a breathing device, a revamped sewing machine, and an improved traffic signal. Who was Garrett Morgan? Born 1877 and died in 1963. With only an elementary school education, Garrett Morgan began his career as a sewing machine mechanic. He went on to patent several inventions, including an improved sewing machine and traffic signal, a hair straightening product, and a respiratory device that would later provide the blueprint for World War I gas mask. The inventor died on July 27, 1963 in Cleveland, Ohio. His early life. Born in Paris, Kentucky on March 4th, 1877, Garrett Morgan was the seventh of 11 children. His mother, Elizabeth Reed, was of Indian and African descent and the daughter of a Baptist minister. His father, Sidney, a former enslaved person freed in 1863, he was the son of John Hunt Morgan, a Confederate colonial. Morgan's mixed race heritage would play a part in his business dealing with as an adult. When Morgan was in his mid-teens, he moved to Cincinnati, Ohio to look for work and found it in the handyman to a wealthy landowner. Although he only completed an elementary school education, Morgan was able to pay for more lessons from private tutors. But jobs at several sewing machine factories were too soon to capture his imagination and determine his future. Learning the inner working of the machines and how to fix them, Morgan obtained a patent for an improved sewing machine and opened his own repair business. Morgan's business was a success, and it enabled him to marry a Bolivian woman named Mary Ann Hassig and establish himself in Cleveland. He and his wife would have 3 sons during their marriage. Then it goes into G.A. Morgan's hair refining company. Following the moments of his business success, Morgan patented sewing machines, which soon paved the way to his financial freedom. albeit in a rather unorthodox way. In 1909, Morgan was working with sewing machines in his newly opened tailoring shop, a business he had opened with his wife Mary, excuse me, who had experienced as a seamstress when he encountered woolen fabric that had been scorched by a sewing machine needle. It was a common problem at the time since sewing machine needles ran at such high speed. In hopes of alleviating the problem, Morgan experimented with a chemical solution in an effort to reduce friction created by the needle and subsequently noticed that the hairs of the cloth were straightened. After trying this solution to good effects on a neighboring dog's fur, Morgan finally tested the concoction on himself. When that worked, he quickly established the G.A. Morgan's Hair Refining Company and sold the cream to African Americans. The company was incredibly successful, bringing Morgan financial security and allowing him to pursue other interests. Invention the breathing device. In 1914, Morgan patented a breathing device or safety hood, providing its wearers with a safer breathing experience in the presence of smoke, gases, and other pollutants. Morgan worked hard to market the device, especially to fire departments, often personally demonstrating its reliability in fires. Morgan's breathing device became the prototype and precursor for the gas mask used during World War I, protecting soldiers from toxic gas used in warfare. The invention earned him the first prize in the Second International Exposition of Safety and Sanitation in New York City. There was some resistance to Morgan's device among buyers, particularly in the South, where racial tensions remained palpable despite advancements in African American rights. In an effort to counteract the resistance of his products, Morgan hired a white actor to pose as the inventor during presentations of his breathing device. Morgan will pose as the inventor's sidekick, disguised as a Native American man named Big Chief Mason and wearing his hood, enter areas otherwise unsafe for breathing. The tactic was successful. Sales of the device were brisk, especially from firefighters and rescue workers. His Cleveland tunnel explosion. In 1916, the city of Cleveland was drilling a new tunnel under Lake Erie for a freshwater supply. Workers hit a pocket of natural gas, which resulted in a huge explosion and trapped workers underground amidst suffocating noxious fumes and dust. When Morgan heard about the explosion, he and his brother put on the breathing devices, made their way to the tunnels, and entered as quickly as possible. The brothers managed to save 2 lives and recover 4 bodies because the rescue efforts were shut down. Despite his heroic efforts, the publicity that Morgan garnered from the incident hurt sales. The public was now fully aware that Morgan was an African American, and many refused to purchase his product. Adding to the detriment, neither the inventor nor his brother were fully recognized for their heroic efforts at Lake Erie, possibly another effect of racial discrimination. Morgan was nominated for a Carnegie Medal for his efforts, but ultimately wasn't chosen to receive the award. Additionally, some reports of the explosion named others as the rescuers. His later invention on the traffic light. While the public's lack of acknowledgement for Morgan and his brother's role at the Cleveland explosion and undoubtedly disheartening, Morgan was a ferocious inventor and observer, who focused on fixing problems and soon turned his attention to all kinds of things, from hats to belts, fasteners to car parts. The first Black man in Cleveland to own a car, Morgan worked on his mechanic skills and developed a friction drive clutch. Then in 1923, he created a new kind of traffic signal, one with a warning light to alert drivers that they would need to stop after witnessing a carriage accident at a particular problematic intersection in the city. Morgan quickly acquired patents for this traffic signal, a rudimentary version of the modern three-way light traffic in the United States, Britain, and Canada, but eventually sold the rights to General Electric for $40,000. And so that's this brother, Garrett Morgan, the inventor of the hair straightener product, the breathing device, the gas mask that we see on our people wear, the sewing machine, and he improved the traffic signal, the red, yellow, and green. Then I want to go into the brother Alexander Miles. On October 11th, 1877, a highly skilled barber, inventor, and businessman named Alex Miles received a patent for a technology that would revolutionize the way we use high-rise buildings forever. His invention, automatic elevator doors. Though a seemingly small milestone in the history of technology, his innovative design made the use of elevators infinitely easier and safer, earning him a spot in the National Inventors Hall of Fame. While best known for the nifty invention, Miles himself was also a marvel, a leading figure in the African-American community of Duluth, Missouri. Miles was a keen businessman who was once reputed to be the richest Black man in the Midwest. I'll give you a few facts about this brother Miles, Alexander Miles. He was born in Ohio in 1838. Alexander was born in Pickaway County, Ohio in 1838 to Michael and Mary Miles. Little was known of his early life, but it is thought he spent his formative years in Ohio before moving to Waukesha, Wisconsin in the late 1850s. He made his early living as a barber. After moving to Wisconsin, Miles took up the career as a barber and pursued which would later earn him great wealth and renown. He moved again to Winona, Minnesota, where in 1864 he purchased the OK Barbershop. He married a widow named Candace J. Dunlap. While in Winona, Alexander met his future wife, Candace J. Dunlap, a divorced white woman who owned a millinery shop in the city. Born in New York, Candace grew up in Indiana before moving to Winona with her first husband, Samuel, with whom she already had 2 children. She and Miles were soon married and began living together with her young daughter, Alice. On April 9th, 1876, Candace gave birth to the couple's one and only child together, Grace. He began inventing hair products. While working as a barber, Alexander developed and manufactured a new hair care product, which he called Tunisian hair dressing. He claimed that the product was for cleansing and beautifying the hair, arresting its falling off, and imparting to it a healthy and natural tone and color, with a penchant for inventing early on. In around 1871, he received his first patent for a hair cleaning product called Cleansing Balm. And 12 years later, he received his second for an improvement hair tonic recipe. He made his fortune in Duluth, Minnesota. Seeking new opportunity, in 1875, Alexander and his family moved to the up and coming city of Duluth, Minnesota, in his own words. These are his words that I'm about to read. I was in search of a place with which I could grow up. There were 2 or 3 other places at the time attracting attention, but it seemed to me that Duluth had the best prospects of all. He set up a successful barbershop on Superior Street before leasing a space on the ground floor of the newly built 4-story St. Louis Hotel. After he opened the hotel's barbershop and bathrooms, a local newspaper referred to it as the best shop, without an exception, in the state of Minnesota. He built his own multi-story building named Miles Block. With both his barbershop prowess and the success of his patented products, Miles became a wealthy and well-known figure in Duluth. Looking for a new venture, he then turned his attention to the real estate and soon inducted into the Duluth Chamber of Commerce, becoming its first Black member. In 1884, he commissioned the design and construction of a Romanesque revival building, which he aptly named Miles Block. The striking structure featured ornate stone carving, a striking brick facade, and perhaps most importantly, 3 stories. People debate how he created his most famous invention. The exact path that brought Alexander Miles from hair tonic to the invention of the automatic elevator door is unclear. It would seem, however, that as he went up into the world, quite literally, Miles became more acquainted with high-rise buildings and the fatal flaw in how they were used. Some state it was his journey up and down the 3 floors of Miles Block that opened his eyes to these dangers, while others attribute a near accident involving his young daughter in an elevator shaft. He received a patent for his automatic elevator doors in 1887. Whatever the reason, Alexander had identified just how dangerous the elevators were in the 19th century, as they had to be opened manually either by an operator or the passengers themselves. People were often at risk plummeting down the shaft with horrific injury. Miles' design included a flexible belt attached to the elevator cage with drums positioning on it to indicate if the elevator had reached a floor. When it occurred, the doors would automatically open and close by means of levers and rollers. In 1887, Miles received a patent for his invention, though John W. Meeker had patented a similar invention in 1874. It was Miles' innovation that made the electric closing door more widespread. Not only was Alexander an excellent barber and talented inventor, he was also a champion of the civil rights and something of a local leader in the African-American community of Duluth. In 1899, he founded the United Brotherhood, an insurance company that insured Black people who were often denied coverage by white companies. He died in 1918 at the age of 80. On May 7th, 1918, Miles passed away at the age of 80. In 2007, he was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame, whose nominees were required to hold a U.S. patent of significant contribution to U.S. welfare. And so the brother Alexander Miles not only was a barber, he had his own businesses, and he was the brother that put the perfection on the elevator who invented the elevator that we use today in these times. Then I also want to mention his brother Lewis Howard Latimer. Lewis Howard Latimer was an inventor and draftsman best known for his contributions to the patenting of the light bulb and the telephone, period. So who was Lewis Latimer? Who was Lewis Howard Latimer? Born in 1848, died in 1928. Inventor and engineer Lewis Howard Latimer was born to parents who had fled slavery. Latimer learned the arts of mechanical drawing while working at a patent firm. Over the course of his career as a draftsman, Latimer worked closely with Thomas Edison and Alexander Graham Bell, in addition to designing his own inventions. His early life and family. Latimer was born in Chelsea, Massachusetts on September 4th, 1848. Latimer was the youngest of 4 children born to George and Rebecca Latimer, who had escaped from slavery in Virginia 6 years before his birth. Captured in Boston and brought to trial as a fugitive, George Latimer was defended by abolitionists Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison. He was eventually able to purchase his freedom with the help of local minister and began raising a family with Rebecca in nearby Chelsea. George disappeared shortly after the Dred Scott decision in 1857, possibly fearing a return to slavery in the South. Helping to patent the telephone and light bulb. After his father's departure, Latimer worked to help support his mother and family in 1864 at the age of 16. Latimer lied about his age in order to enlist in the United States Navy during the Civil War. Returning to Boston after an honorable discharge, he accepted a menial position at a Groxby and Gold patent law firm. He taught himself mechanical drawing and drafting by observing the work of draftsmen at the firm. Recognizing Latimer's talent and promise, the firm partners promoted him from office boy to draftsman. In addition to assisting others, Latimer designed a number of his own inventions, including an improved railroad car bathroom and an early air conditioning unit. Latimer's talents were well matched to the post-Civil War period, which saw a large number of scientific and engineering breakthroughs. Latimer was directly involved with one of these inventions, the telephone working with bells. Latimer helped draft a patent for Bell's design of the telephone. He was also involved in the field of incandescent lighting, a particularly competitive field, working for Hiram Maxim and Edison. Latimer's deep knowledge of both patent and electric engineering made Latimer an indispensable partner to Edison as he promoted and defended his light bulb design. In 1890, Latimer published a book entitled Incandescent Electric Lighting, a particular description of this Edison system. He continued to work as a patent consultant until 1922. His personal life. Latimer married Mary Wilson in 1873, and they had 2 daughters together. The Latimers were active members of the Unitarian Church, and Latimer was consistently involved in Civil War veteran groups. including the Grand Army of the Republic. In addition to his drafting skills, Latimer enjoyed other creative pastimes, including playing the flute and writing poetry and plays. In his spare time, he taught mechanical drawing and English to recent immigrants at the Henry Street Settlement in New York. It goes into his death. Latimer died on December 11, 1928, in Flushing, Queens, New York. His wife, Mary, preceded him by 4 years. And so again, his brother, Lewis Howard Latimer, the brother behind the telephone, the light bulb, says the brother was in the Navy. And we can't forget our queens. There were some powerful queens that invented a lot of great things as well. And so one I want to speak on is the sister Mary Van Brittan Brown. Mary Van Brittan Brown of 1922, she passed in 1999. She was the inventor of the home security system, but it says Mary Van Brittan Brown was the inventor of the first home security system. She is also credited with the invention of the first closed-circuit television. Brown was born in Queens, New York on October 22nd, 1922, and resided there until her death on February 2nd, 1999, at age 66. Her father was born in Massachusetts and her mother was from Pennsylvania. The patent for her invention was filed in 1966, and it later influenced modern home security systems that are still used today. Brown's invention was inspired by the security risks that her home faced in the neighborhood where she lived. Mary Brown worked as a nurse, and her husband, Albert Brown, worked as an electrical technician. Their work hours were not the standard 9 to 5, and the crime rate in their Queens neighborhood was very high. Even when the police were contacted in the event of an emergency, the response time tended to be slow. As a result, Brown looked for ways to increase her level of personal security. She needed to create a system that would allow her to know who was at her home and contact relevant authorities as quickly as possible. Brown's security system was the basis for the two-way communication and surveillance feature of modern security. Her original invention was comprised of peepholes, a camera, a monitor, and a two-way microphone. The final element was an alarm button that could be pressed to contact the police immediately. 3 peepholes were placed on the front door at a different height level. The top one was for tall persons, the bottom one was for children, and the middle one was for the average height. At the opposite side of the door was a camera attached with the ability to slide up and down to allow the person to see through each peephole. The camera picked up images that would reflect on the monitor via a wireless satellite. The monitor could be placed in any part of the house to allow you to see who was at the door. There was also a voice component to enable Brown to speak to the persons outside. If the person was perceived to be an intruder, the police would be notified with the push of a button. If the person was a welcome or unexpected or expected visitor, the door could be unlocked via a remote control. Mary and Albert filed for the patent on August 1st, 1966, under the title Home Security System Utilizing Television Surveillance. Their application was approved on December 2nd, 1969. Brown's invention gained her well-deserved recognition, including an award from National Scientist Committee and an interview with the New York Times on December 6, 1969. Brown's invention laid the foundation for later security systems that make use of its features such as video monitoring, remote-controlled door locks, push-button alarm triggers, instant messaging to security providers and police, as well as two-way voice communication. Her invention is still used by small businesses, small offices, single-family homes, and multi-unit dwellings such as apartments and condominiums. The Brown's patent later referenced by 13 other inventors, including some as recently as 2013. Brown was the mother of 2 children, one of whom, Norma Brown, went on to become a nurse and inventor. Then we go into the story of the sister Sarah Boone of 1832 to 1904. This sister improved the ironing board patent. Sarah Boone was an American inventor best known for her patented improvements to the ironing board. She was one of the first African-American women to receive a patent in the United States history. Boone's legacy was her improved ironing board. The ironing board had first been patented in 1858 and circulated into common usage in the times that followed. Boone's improvement was patented on April 26, 1892 as U.S. Patent 473653. The patent described the new invention as particularly adapted to be used in the ironing the sleeves and bodies of ladies' garments. It accomplished this by taking the previous rigid design on the board and curving the edges slightly to account that for the seams inlaid in most women's clothing at the time. It was sized to that of the typical sleeve of contemporary clothes. The text of the patent hints at a possible variation that would be better suited for men's clothing. The board also used a support system to flip the garment to its other side, enabling the user to iron both sides of a sleeve. This meant that the ironing of one side would not be undone by the ironing of the other side. Boone was born enslaved in Craven County, North Carolina in 1832 as Sarah Marshall. She married James Boone in 1847, with whom she had 8 children. Shortly after the marriage, the couple were freed under unknown circumstances and moved to New Haven, Connecticut, where Sarah Boone worked as a dressmaker and her husband as a bricklayer. Sarah Boone died in New Haven in 1904. Boone was among the first Black women in American history to receive a patent. Her patent, confirmed in 1892, came just 8 years after that of Judy Reed, who was believed to be the first African-American woman to receive a patent. Then I want to go into the sister Alice H. Parker of 1895. Alice H. Parker was an African-American inventor famous for her patented system of central heating using natural gas. In the 1920s, using natural gas to power a heating furnace was a revolutionary idea that conserved energy and paved the way for the central heating system we all have in our homes today. Parker's patent was filed on December 23, 1919 for her heating system invention. Her design allowed cool air to be drawn into the furnace, then conveyed through a heat exchanger that delivered warm air through the ducts to individual rooms of a home. The concept of central heating was around before Parker was born, but her design was unique because it used natural gas as its fuel instead of coal or wood that had been previously used. Parker is said to have been inspired for her design because she felt her fireplace was not effective enough in warming her home through the cold New Jersey winter. Her invention was convenient because it meant that people did not have to go outside and chop or buy wood. It also decreased the risk of house or building fires that heating units pose by eliminating the need to leave a burning fireplace on throughout the night. Although her initial designs were never used, her idea that natural gas and ducts could be used to heat different areas of a house was a major step forward in the heating system used today. Very little was known about Alice Parker's life. She was born in 1895, grew up in Morristown, New Jersey, and attended classes at the Howard University Academy in Washington, D.C. The Academy was a high school connected to Howard University, and in 1910, Parker earned a certificate with honors from the Academy. Parker's filing a patent was a remarkable milestone, as she was an African-American woman in the early 20th century, since her filing for the patent preceded both the Civil Rights Movement and the Women's Liberation Movement, which subsequently removed many of the barriers that women of her generation faced. At this time, African-American women who had very limited opportunities, and Parker's receiving of a patent for her invention during that time was a truly unusual and outstanding achievement. Then we go into the brother Emmett Chappelle of 1925, and he died in 2019. Emmett Chappelle, inventor, was born in Phoenix, Arizona on October 25th, 1925. His scientific research and the 14 United States patents he received for his invention make Chappelle's contribution vital to the scientific world. Much about Chappelle's early life cannot be asserted. He attended the University of California in 1950 and in 1954 received a Bachelor of Science degree. Remarkably, without graduating training, he then worked as an instructor of biochemistry for 3 years in Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee. In 1953, he enrolled at the University of Washington, where he pursued advanced degrees. Chappelle earned a master's in science with the focus of biochemistry in 1954, but never completed a PhD. Instead, he worked for various companies as a biochemist, and during that period received the first of the 14 U.S. patents. By 1966, Chappelle was employed at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which is NASA, where he was an exobiologist, which is someone who engaged in the search of extraterrestrial life and the effects of extraterrestrial surrounds on living organisms. He was also an astrochemist, which is the chemistry of astronomical objects in interstellar space. In 1977, Chappelle went on to work for the Goddard Space Flight Center, where he was a scientific analyst responsible for monitoring remote sensors devices. Some of his work included the detection of adenosine triphosphate, an important compound in all living organisms. Through the patent method he developed, exobiologists are able to more speedily detect bacteria outside of the Earth's atmosphere. The presence of bacteria is considered among evidence for extraterrestrial life. Chappelle also discovered a method for determining the health of forest vegetation. His method measured the amount of fluorescence over a forest and monitored the amount of photosynthesis in a selected area. Chappelle also produced more than 35 peer-reviewed scientific or technical publications, nearly 50 conference papers, and co-authored or edited numerous publications. Emmett Chappelle retired in 2001. He died from renal failure at his home in Baltimore on October 14th, 2019. Then we have his brother, Andrew Jackson Beard, who was born in 1849. Andrew Jackson Beard was an African-American inventor. He was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame in Akron, Ohio for his work on the railroad cupola design. Born in Alabama, 1849, Andrew Beard spent his first 15 years of his life as a slave on a small farm in Alabama. A year after he was emancipated, he married and became a farmer in a small city outside of Birmingham. Andrew Beard was not just a farmer, he was a carpenter, a blacksmith, a road worker, businessman, and finally an inventor. Despite having no formal training, Andrew Jackson Beard became an accomplished inventor. While in Birmingham, he was able to develop and champion his first invention, a plow. In 1881, he patented the plow and sold the patent rights for $4,000 in 1884. In 1887, Andrew Beard patented a second plow and sold it for $5,200. Beard invested that money he made from the plow inventions into a profitable real estate business. These two inventions earned him almost $10,000, with which he began to invest in real estate. Following his stint in real estate, Andrew Beard began to work and study engines, and in 1892, he filed a patent for an improvement of the rotary steam engine. A few years later, in 1897, Andrew Beard patented an improvement to railroad car couplers, commonly called the Jenny coupler. It did the dangerous job for hooking railroad cars together. Beard himself had lost a leg in the car coupling accident. His experience of working on the railroad had taught him that coupling two railroad cars together was extremely dangerous. A worker would have to brace himself between the two cars and then drop the pin at the exact right moment. As an ex-railroad worker, Andrew Beard had the right idea that probably saved countless lives and limbs. Andrew Beard received $50,000 for the patent rights to his Jenny coupler. The same year that Beard patented the coupler, Congress enacted the Federal Safety Appliance Act. The act made it unlawful to operate railroad cars that were not equipped with automatic couplers. Andrew Beard is sometimes falsely cited as the inventor of the automatic railroad coupler, also known as the knuckle coupler. But this was invented by Eli H. Jenny, a former Confederate major who was awarded a patent for his revolutionary inventions in 1873. Beard's patent relating to the automatic coupler was one of some 8,000 variant patents awarded between Jenny's inventions in 1873 and the turn of the 20th century. Andrew Jackson Beard was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame in 2006. The National Inventors Hall of Fame honors the women and men responsible for the great technological advances that make human, social, and economic progress possible each year. The selection committee of the National Inventors Hall of Fame Foundation selects inventors for inductions. These are selected from a field of people nominated by peers and the public. The selection committee includes representatives from the leading national scientific and technical organization. He died in 1921. Then I want to go over to his brother Leonard C. Bailey of 1825. He died in 1918. Just give y'all a few more of the so-called Black inventors and their inventions. I don't want to make this too long. If y'all like this one, I'll do a part 2. Leonard Bailey was an African-American inventor and businessman in Washington, D.C. in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Born in 1825 to an impoverished, free Black family, Bailey rose in status by becoming a journeyman barber. Through this success, he eventually came to operate and own many of the barbershop businesses in the District of Columbia by the time of the Civil War. Bailey's first significant appearance came in 1869 when he was a member of the jury for the infamous Millie Gaines trial. The defendant, Gaines, a Black woman, had killed her white lover and was acquitted on the grounds of temporary insanity. The trial was overseen by the Capitol's first integrated jury, consisting of 6 Black men and 6 white men. By 1880, Bailey was an established leader of the Washington's Black business community. In 1884, the New York governor, Grover Cleveland, became the first Democrat elected president since the 1850s. Many in the African American community feared their rights would be restricted. Bailey and other middle-class Black professionals called on Congress to defend those rights. Bailey's desire to help the African American community led to his founding the Capital Savings Bank on October 17, 1888. Bailey and 7 other Black businessmen created the bank to provide more affordable loans and insurance for poor households in the District of Columbia. Bailey served as the bank's president for several years, becoming head treasurer and a director of its finance board. By 1893, during one of the country's worst financial crises, the Capital Savings Bank was one of the few banks in Washington, D.C. to maintain business. Due to this resilience, Capital Savings became a trusted bank for both Black and whites in the D.C. area. Aside from this accomplishment as a businessman and community member, Bailey is also remembered for his inventions. In 1883, Bailey patented one of the most significant devices, a truce and bandage intended to support patients with lower body hernias. The design was later adopted by the U.S. Army Medical Board, providing funding for Bailey's business ventures and future inventions. Among these were a device for moving railroad trains and a speed stamper for mail. The latter began use for frequently by the U.S. Postal Services. On July 18, 1889, Bailey patented a folding bed for easy storage. Again, the U.S. Army welcomed the innovation, and the invention is Bailey's claim to fame in the present day. Over the course of his career, Bailey carefully maintained his position as a member of the Black upper middle class. He became a director of the Manassas Industrial Schools for Colored Youth in Virginia, was a board member of the Berean Baptist Church in the District of Columbia, and was a noted Freemason. Leonard C. Bailey died suddenly on September 1st, 1918. He was 93 and is interred at National Harmony Memorial Park in Largo, Maryland. So this brother invented a few things that the Army uses today. He died at the age of 93. Then we have this sister, Sarah E. Goode. She was born in 1855. She died in 1905. Sarah Elizabeth Goode was one of the first African-American women to obtain a patent from the United States government in 1885. She shares the distinction with Judy Reed, who invented a dough kneading machine that was patented in 1880, and Miriam Benjamin, who received a patent in 1888 for a hotel chair that signaled the service for a waiter. Little has been confirmed of Goode's early life, but it is believed that in 1860, at the age of 5, she was living at Sarah Jacobs, a free inhabitant of Toledo, Ohio. By 1870, she had moved to Chicago, Illinois, and by 1880, she married to Archibald Goode, a carpenter/stair builder. The couple had children, but the exact number is unknown. On July 14, 1885, Sarah Goode was granted patent number 322177 from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office for a folding cabinet bed. The bed was designed to make maximum efficient use of small spaces where surface areas was limited. Known today as the hideaway bed. Goode's invention had hinge sections that were easily raised and lowered. When not functioning as a bed, the invention could easily be used as a desk because there was a small compartment for storing supplies. This was ideal for urban apartments of Chicago where living space was shared and limited. Aside from Goode's inventions and lineage, little is known about her life. Although some biographies indicate that Sarah Goode became a successful owner of a furniture store in Chicago, that has not been confirmed. However, Goode's father and husband were carpenters, and this could have influenced her knowledge about furniture construction. It is believed that Sarah Goode died in Chicago of April 8, 1905. And so this is the Sarah Goode, she made the fold-out bed, basically. Her story is short as well. She moved to Chicago, got her patent approved. There's little known about her life. And so just to make this real quick, and I appreciate y'all for rocking with me, but we're going to finish it out with this sister Patricia Bath. She was born November 4th, 1942. She died May 30th, 2019. Dr. Patricia Bath invented laser phaco, a new device and technique to remove cataracts. It performed all steps of cataract removal, making the incision, destroying the lens, and vacuuming out the fractured pieces. Bath is recognized as the first Black woman physician to receive a medical patent. After completing an ophthalmology residency at New York University, Bath completed a corneal transplant surgery fellowship at Columbia University. While a fellow, she was recruited by UCLA Medical Center and Charles R. Drew University to co-found an ophthalmology residency program at Martin Luther King Jr. Hospital. She then began her career at UCLA, becoming the first woman ophthalmologist on the faculty of its prestigious Jules Stein Eye Institute. She was appointed assistant chief of the King Drew UCLA ophthalmology residency program in 1974 and chief in 1983. Bath conceived her laser phaco device in 1981, published her first paper in 1987, and had her first U.S. patent issued in 1988. Her minimally invasive device was used in Europe and Asia by 2000. When Bath interned in ophthalmology, she was one of the first to document that Black patients had doubled the rate of glaucoma and realized that the high prevalence of blindness among Black patients was due to a lack of access of ophthalmic care. In a seminar paper in 1976, she proposed the discipline of community ophthalmology, combining public health, community medicine, and clinical and daycare programs to test visions and screens straightening eyes, conditions, and historically underserved communities. The same year, she co-founded the American Institute for the Prevention of Blindness, designed to protect, preserve, and restore sight through education, community service, research, and eye care services. She also founded the Ophthalmic Assistance Training Program at UCLA, whose graduates worked on blindness prevention. Bath received her Bachelor of Arts degree in chemistry from Hunter College in 1964 and her medical degree from Howard University in 1968. Included among her many achievements, she was the first Black woman to complete a residency in ophthalmology at NYU and the first woman to chair an ophthalmology residency program in the United States at Drew UCLA. She has been recognized as a laser pioneer and among her numerous honors, she has been recognized by the National Science Foundation, the Lemelson Center, the American Medical Women's Association, the U.S. National Library of Medicine, the American Academy of Ophthalmology Museum of Vision and Ophthalmic Heritage, the Association of Black Women and Physicians with its Lifetime Achievements Award for Ophthalmology Contributions, and by Alpha Kappa Alpha with its Presidential Award for Health and Medical Services. If you made it this far in the video, I just want to say I appreciate you for watching the video all the way through. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on my TikTok if you haven't. Follow me on my Instagram, Facebook. Those links will be in the description. Peace and love.